Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the talk think show that proves without a shadow of doubt that the so called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous one. And tonight, today, this weekend, this Sunday, we're going to be talking about Indigenous people, Indigenous, how to spot the Indigenous around you. This is 20, this is 2020, and we're trying to get as many people as to recognize what's going on around them, because we notice that the only people who don't know what's going on around us are the indigenous people. So we're going to try to do things to get to show you what indigenous people saw when they woke up every morning, what they did, what they believed in, and what they used to make their everyday lives in the earth better for them. Today, I'm joined by two guests. I'm joined from the brother up in Memphis, Teacher Tia Khan. He's going to be joining us today. And as always, Rick Moon is going to be giving us his commentary about Indigenous life. This will be very helpful to a lot of people. Very helpful. Just listen to what these brothers say. If you can use it, chew it up, enjoy the meal. If you can't use it, go ahead and there's other channels you can join. So I want to welcome my guest, Teacher Tia Khan. How you doing, brother?
Peace to everyone out there.
Cool. And Rick Moon, what's going on, homie?
Hey, how's everybody going? I'm doing all right. How's America out there?
Everybody's we got 30 people on board, so everybody seems to be doing cool. Before we start out, for the new year coming up, because everybody just celebrated the new year a few weeks ago, but they celebrated the new year in the dead of winter. See, that's the kind of stuff we do when we join other people's ideology, we join other foreign ideas, we get into their ideas. It's funny that the African American, they don't have a clock. The African American don't have a month or a time of year. They do what other people do. Chinese, they have their own way of counting time. Arab people, they have their own way of measuring time. All these people have their ways of measuring time, and the African Americans, they just take somebody else's time, and that's why we're in some of the problems we see now. We don't create our own calendars. We don't think of our own holidays. We don't believe in that. We can do what we want to do. And it's this attitude that's gotten the African American to where he is. So this coming New Year, and the New Year, indigenous people, we celebrate the New Year when spring first hits. And this spring out in Memphis, Tennessee, we're having a New Year's festival hosted by myself, Teacher Tio Khan, and the great people of Memphis. So what we want to do is introduce Teacher Tio Khan to explain this to us so you can get an idea of what's going on. Teacher, please.
Halito to everyone. Just being brief, in respect to Brother Moon, we're going to have a grand New Year celebration. And we have been doing a lot of talking over here about a lot of things dealing with the Native Americans. Let's see. Let's everybody come on down to Memphis. We're going to be camping along the Wolf River on the Okanashoba trading post with Chief Matthews. And we're going to have a lot of activities and a lot of things a lot of classes to teach people how to balance themselves and get on the other side of this thing and not be destroyed on this side. So we're putting it together, and you're going to hear a lot of more correspondence from us, and just keep in touch. Peace.
Thank you, teacher. We really appreciate that. So it's just giving everybody who's listening an update, just a little push to let you know what we're going to be doing in the springtime, New Year's. And what the brother said, is something that we can all use. We have to get our mind, body, and spirit balanced. That's the whole purpose of the pyramid. To have your mind, your body, and your spirit all in one. So if you out there, you can't be outside sleeping on the straight ground because you're normally used to sleeping in the bed. So when you do stuff like that, bring an air mattress, bring something that's comfortable. So because it's a lot of stuff that's going to be given, a lot of stuff that a lot of us have gotten away from since we moved to these cities and since we adopted this foreign lifestyle, we do things different. We believe things different. We see things different. We put different things on our body. We put different things in our body. And what Rick Moon is going to be showing you is how all that stuff, it really kills us out. We look very dumb when we go to a store and none of the products or products we put on there, and we're indigenous people. We come on. See, we always like to talk about other people and stuff, but we do the same thing. You should be familiar with your landscape. And this is what this summit is going to be all about. So we just came up with the idea this week, so we're sharing it now. Please email me. I'll give you more information, indigenous64@gmail.com, because these are the things we have to do. I know many people, when it comes springtime, we want to go to spring break, go down with the white girls in Florida. We ain't got time for that. Okay, so bring the kids out too, because there's gonna be a lot of educational stuff for the kids, and just showing them what it means to be an Indigenous American or American, the real ones. Okay, so that's going to be the first weekend of April, the second and third. Did you say, teacher?
I think it's the 3rd and 4th. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay,
April
the
3rd,
third and
April
fourth,
4th,
but
which is Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, so this is what we're going to be doing April 3rd and 4th. So you can see we're leaving the dead of winter and we're going into spring. And we'll show you what's going to be springing up around that time in the earth. And these are things we should know already. Now, I know a lot of people in African American don't like learning. They don't like it. So those of you who do, and the Mississippi River, that's a bad motherfucker. If you've never been down to the Mississippi, for those of you who haven't, you have to see it. Everybody talks about the rivers, the Nile, the Amazon, but you have a river right in your backyard that your people use for travel, commerce, and to ship stuff. Matter of fact, America has the most waterways in the world. Those were the highways. Those were original highways. So these are the things we have to be familiar with again, because what we're doing with African American, we're telling the people who call themselves African American, black, Negro, colored, nigger, blah, you're none of those things. You are the people that America birthed. And coming the 3rd or 4th of April, we want to show you how that's possible. So with that, I want to turn it over to Rick Moon, because he's he really knows the landscape, and so he can share some things with you. Rick?
I think what I wanted to discuss, it's kind of a broad topic. So, but hopefully I can get some participation from the chat room. And please be welcome to ask questions, because it's time that we start to get the 2020 vision, like the indigenous one been speculating for a while now, that we need to get back on 2020 vision. And everybody is so excited about finding out that they're indigenous, to America. And a lot of people have done their genealogy and found out a lot of interesting things about family and stuff like that. But I just want to say that though I'm glad that all these things have happened, but the road to indigenous don't stop there. You have to be able to be indigenous. You just can't say, hey, I'm indigenous and start demanding stuff. And all these people that talk about the United Nations and going through them and them protecting you and stuff, you got to play the part. You just can't be out there just saying, well, I'm indigenous and I'm this and I'm that. No, you got to be doing that. You have to play the role. We have to have our own, we have to be self-sufficient. So it's more to it than just being the chosen people. And there's even more to it than that. Because being indigenous, you're required to, you're responsible for everything on all of Mother Earth creations. Being that you are the most smartest, being that you're the one that they gave the responsibility to be over to be smarter than any other creature on this earth, it's basically our responsibility to take care of Mother Earth. And we're not doing that. All we're talking about is, yeah, I'm the chosen one and everything, but there's more to it than that. And hopefully today we'll be able to tell you a little more about what it means to be indigenous. Stuff like, first of all, I just want to give you a definition of the word indigenous. Okay. Now I got this out of the dictionary. This is the dictionary's definition of indigenous. It is originating or occurring naturally in a particular place. Native. Now I don't particularly care for that native part, because anybody can be native as long as you was born in that particular place. You're native. So I don't quite agree with that whole definition, but that's why I always have my own definition. And my definition of indigenous is plain and simple. It's in the word. Genes. Indigenous. Indigenes. You are the people who have the genes that are connected to everything, every living creature on this earth that is indigenous in whatever land you're indigenous to. So you have responsibility not only to your people, you got responsibility to everything in America. So also we can talk about what it means to be indigenous. What is your responsibility to being indigenous? Because we do have responsibilities to do that. We also hope to talk about what is indigenous? Who is indigenous? Everything that you see out here, all the plants, all the animals, all the living creatures out here are not indigenous to here. And there's a very easy way to tell what's indigenous and what ain't. And if y'all and we can discuss that. So I was just hoping that anybody that has any questions on this, to please feel free to ask them in the chat room. Indigenous one, anything you want to say before we, really get into it?
Yeah. Really listen to what this brother is saying, you guys. A lot of this stuff doesn't have anything to do with the world we living in now. Movies, sports, blah, 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 blah. This doesn't have anything to do with that. This has to do with unfolding of the natural surroundings around you. And these are the surroundings that many of you who are not African, who are not Hebrew, this doesn't apply to you because you are indigenous to another landmass. You say that your people come from somewhere else. So this doesn't concern you. Please do not try to confuse it. This man is about to tell you when the new year gets here, when the springtime gets here, after winter's over, after everything has been watered down, when everything's new, when everything's growing, when everything coming up is fresh, this is the environment that birthed many of you. This is an environment that your great great grandparents live in. See, you'll notice in the African American community, we don't get into our great great grandparents. We just close the book, jump right into Africa. And that's where all our problems begin. But this cat, he's going to tell you about how this thing works. And you'll recognize many of them in your everyday life because nature permeates through everything. So all I want to say is check out what this brother say. Take notes if you want. But this world, the natural world and the world that we live into, sitting around watching TV, going to the bar, getting high, drinking, blah, 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 blah. That's not the natural world. You do something totally different than the natural world. And what the African American has been cut off from the natural world. He was cut off from the natural world when they was calling him colored and black and Negro. But we've been cut off from the natural world, and Rick is going to show you some ways to recognize how to live and survive in the natural world. So if you have any questions, write them down, and I'll ask Rick as he's talking. Okay? All right, Rick.
Okay. First of all, let's talk about America itself. Okay. America itself is a forest. That is the natural environment in America. The forest, the trees. And that has a lot to do with why we're not getting the proper air. We're not getting the ground is not properly nutritious enough for us to grow and stuff. That's why we have some of these problems. It's because we've been letting everybody, and we've been participating in it too, and cutting down all the trees. And that is your lifeline. You connect to it. I learned this when I was in the 4th, 5th grade in science class, that plants give off oxygen, animals give off carbon dioxide. The humans, the animals take in the oxygen that the plants give off, and the plants take in the carbon dioxide that the animals give off. So that's a connection right there. So you are connected to not just each other, but you're connected to everything that is indigenous in America. Now, like I said, America was a forest. So if you want to know what's indigenous, you have to think of the forest. What can you find in that forest?
Rick, can I share something real quick? Can I share something?
Go ahead.
While you're on here, so I won't forget it.
Go ahead.
When he's talking about the forest, remember that what you call the Midwest, that used to be a forest. Where it's all flat now and is used for agriculture, that used to be a forest. So think about that. All Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa, Illinois, all those states up there, that used to be a forest. Send me an email, ask me how that was a forest if you want to know. But I just want to just want to put that out there so you will know. America that you see now is not the landscape that your foreparents came from. Sorry, Rick.
No, that is correct. That is correct. As a matter of fact, we've shown it many times about the article in the New York Times talking about the bushwhackers in Kansas. And we've talked about that on numerous occasions. So I'm sure a lot of people know what we're talking about. But getting back to that, like I said, the forest is the natural environment. So anything that you can find in that forest is indigenous to. Now, I will say this: there are some animals, plants that have learned to adapt to a forest environment, but they're not indigenous, and I'll talk about them too. Uh, so but you have to think anything that's indigenous to the American forest will blend in with everything in that environment. So all them animals that you see in the forest, they all blend into everything. And that's no difference with the people too. Indigenous people will blend into the forest. I mean, I know we said this on numerous occasions too, but that's all you have to do. All of you people who think you came from Africa, go to the forest and take some of your peeps with you and watch each other in that forest environment and see how you blend in. You blend in with everything. As a matter of fact, you can look at, especially like, look at these pine trees. Look at these pine trees that you see around. Look at the bark on them. Look at the texture of the bark. You gonna tell me that you never saw a person with dreadlocks that look kind of familiar to that bark on the tree? That's why because that person with them dreads, he's indigenous. He's blending into it. He'll blend into everything. And that's what we do. And these people that so-called Native Americans, put them in the forest. They'll stick out like a sore thumb. Because we are the people, the indigenous people are the same colors of the animals, of the plants, of the soil, everything. You can dig up soil, and the soil comes in different colors too, just like everything else. You can dig up different colors of soil, and I guarantee you, you know somebody that's about the same color as that soil. Hey, hold up, indigenous one. Could you hold up a second? I'll hold up.
So what he's given, he's given you an example of what's indigenous in this country and what's not. And this is stuff that's all around us. So while we going around here beating on our chest that our foreparents came across in a slave ship, pissing and shitting on everybody, we look stupid. We're turning our backs on our people from here to pick up somebody's ideology, and we'll protect that more than we'll protect our grandmothers, right? Yes. See, I realize a lot of people kind of get upset with what I say, and they say I'm being an asshole. I'm not. I'm telling you how it is. This is what people do every day. You have Negroes going over to Africa now, trying to get the rest of you guys to come over there. Why? So they can remove you from your land, so they can come take it. That's what's been going on. So just imagine if you had all the people who call themselves Moors, Hebrews, Christians, Muslims. If you had all of those people that would pick up, they follow and find out their bloodlines, imagine what we would be. And so I contend that that's why most of us get into that stuff, so we don't have to do it. See, nobody never talks about that. See, we don't want to do what we need to do. We don't want to do what we need to do to build the nation. We're not into that. We have more important things to do than that. African Americans. We have more important things to do, that being that we're being kicked out of these cities through gentrification, we have more important things to do than to go down to the places in the South that's waiting for you. We have more stuff to do. We have more important stuff to do than go into those cities where our parents left, our foreparents left, and rebuild those cities and make them accessible to all of us. We don't have time to do that. We don't have time to invent and make cars because we don't need no jobs. Boston gave us all the jobs. We don't have no time to get into the spiritual practices of our people that are connected to the earth, because we got to get to church. You've cut yourself off from everything you. And many of you don't really seem to give a shit. You back, Rick?
Yeah, I'm back.
So
While you
okay.
was talking, I was looking in the chat real quick, and I was checking out something that Copper Cutter Lifestyles 94 was saying. I don't know if that's male or female. Forgive me. But it said my color is the same of the leaves in autumn, and he or she is exactly correct. Exactly the correct. The leaves, when autumn comes around, they start to fall, they change color because they're green during the spring or whatever. Then when the fall comes around, they start to change colors. They change to the yellows, the oranges, the reds, the browns, and all of that. And you know somebody the same color as those leaves, just like Copper Colored just said.
So that's what we mean when we say this is all around you. It's right in your face. If this person can pick it up and see it, you can too. Nothing's blocking your vision. Nobody's telling you not to. Nobody's telling you not to be in that. No, nobody's telling you not to see it. It's right in your face. You just don't recognize it because you want to buy all this bullshit that these people are selling you. Sorry, Rick.
No problem, no problem. Uh, yeah. So now if you now talking about what is indigenous to these to the forest, and you got and we have to know these things because nature is looking at us too. You think these animals don't know who you are? I give you experience. I give you experience. I was in the forest. I was sitting down, minding. I thought I was minding my own business. I'm looking at my phone. I turn around and there's a buck about 30 feet away from me. He's about 30 feet away from big guy. Huge antlers, had to be at least about 5 feet long. Standing right there looking at me. Saw me before I saw him. I turned around and I saw him. But I didn't move, I didn't run, I didn't do anything. I just stood there and looked at him. And he looked at me. And I'm telling you, this is you can believe this or not. I'm telling you, that deer would have probably attacked me if I was European or if I was anything else other than who I was. I believe the deer would attack me. And the thing about it, when the deer, he finally walked away. When he walked away, when he started to walk away, he actually started to walk towards me. But then but the angle he took him past me. And he just went on about his business. And I'm sitting there, I'm sweating, like, oh man, I'm in trouble. But I thought about it, and I believe that if that deer did not recognize that I was part of that environment, that it probably would attack me.
You know what, Rick? Can you elaborate on that? Because I think this is one thing that we really miss out on is our connection to the earth. What it will do for us if we just do what we're supposed to do. I think that's one thing that we mainly suffer from because we act like we have no connection to the earth at all.
That's right. That's right. That's what we're here to tell you. You connect to all living creatures on Mother Earth in America. You connect to everything. If you look at all the animals, look at the colors of the animals. You know somebody the same color as them too. You probably even know somebody who look like some of those animals.
You ain't lying about that shit.
As a matter of fact, I think that everybody looks like one of those indigenous animals in that woods. I think everybody does. I would probably have to think for a while before I could figure it out what I think you look more like. But I think all of us do because, like I said, we all blend in together. Everything. That's why you're responsible for everything. Uh, Being indigenous means that you were sprung up from America. That means you are America. That's why at the beginning of the show, I always say, "What's up, America?" I don't say, "What's up, Americans?" Because if you look up that 1928, 1828 definition of American, at the end it says, "But now pertaining to Europeans born in America." So that's what an American is to me. But I'm sprung from the earth, from America. So I am America. I'm not American. And
And you
that's
see,
the way I
and you see how they steal your birthright. They tell you they do it, and you go and do what you don't even ask them. They come and take your shit, write it down in your face so you can read it, and you cool with it. This is what I don't get about the African American. All this information that's being put forth, you just turn your back on it like it don't mean shit. And then teach your kids all that dumb shit. You do that. I'm just saying that you do it, but you mad at me. You crazy? These people come over here, look at you, look at everything that you have. They don't even want to be themselves no more. They say, fuck that, we want to be them. They come and take your land, and do what they want to do with it, and you have nothing to say about it. You're going to pay for that.
Brother, can I interject here something for a minute, if I may?
go ahead.
Brother Moon, I want to touch on what you said about the experience. We always hear about their experience when they go in the woods or when they go to a place, what happened to them. But you never hear about the indigenous people being attacked or being mutilated or mauled. You hear about their experience. So we always take their experience and make it our experience, like Buck
Right.
Wild. And that's the problem. Go out and tell us about your experience. Don't tell me about, well, they said if you go out in the woods, a bug will bite you, a flea will bite you. No, it'll bite the ones that don't supposed to be there. So come back and tell us your experience about what you experience when you go out into nature and these things, and get away from their experience and what they're telling you. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
Amen.
Oh, you absolutely correct. Oh, go ahead, indigenous one.
No, man, I'm just saying, dude, it's everything that you guys are saying. You know, we're a part of a landmass, but we don't want to be a part of it. Everything we do, we try to disconnect ourselves from it. And it's hurting us. It's really hurting us because you in a place that you've been here longer than everybody, but you don't have no say so into what happens. And you cool with it. That's the part that gets me. All this shit that's going on, and we cool with it. I don't think that should be the case. And I think, getting into nature, knowing what to look for in nature, getting familiar with it, getting comfortable with it, I think would be a big help to us. So that's why the summit that's coming up in the first of the year, the New Year festival, I think we should jump on that for 2020. Can you imagine? We have to put our stamp on this thing that we're experiencing called life. Because in life, all we do is what other people tell us to do. I contend, and I ask the two brothers if they agree with me, I contend that we don't do that shit no more.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I can't argue against that.
It means like what teacher just said. What's your experience? And many of us go through this whole life and we don't have no saying anything. Let me give you an example. Check this shit out. Just talked to a friend of mine, and she was saying that she was talking to her grandmother. And her grandmother's getting old and she's, passing through. And she said her grandmother said something that it blew me away. Her grandmother said, now her grandmother is about 75 now. So all of you guys who just think about when she was coming up, what she was brought up in, where she was brought up, Christian woman, went through her whole life. Her grandmother told her there was a time when she saw something that wasn't right, there was a time that she could have said something and she could have got a lot of people to go, with her because everybody was feeling the same way. You know how in these cities, how things happen, working class people. And she said when she could have did something, but she didn't. She kept her mouth shut. She said now she's at an age and nobody gives a shit about her. She's old. She's always kept her mouth shut. Nobody's talking to her. No youth are coming to her asking her no questions. And she said, and even if they did, I wouldn't even know what to tell them because I didn't learn shit my whole life. I was like, damn. And that's how many of us are. We go through our whole lives not learning a damn thing, learning all this bullshit. Then when it's time for you to lay down and for your newborns to pick up the mantle, what have you got to give them? Not a goddamn thing. And prance around here like you do. So I'm just saying, we have to look at ourselves along with why is everybody coming to your land? Why does everybody want to be on your land? Why does everybody want to trick you out of your land? Simply because you can be tricked every time. And we're saying with this nature thing, it'll show you how not to be tricked no more. You are America. It's like Rick Moon said, you are it. You ain't part of it, blah, blah, blah. You are it. Pay attention to that because it's about to get real hectic here. And we have to be thinking a whole nother way than what we thinking. Sorry about that, Rick.
No. Hey, preach. Okay, well let's talk about what is indigenous to America. Let's talk a little bit about that. Okay. It's very simple. It's very simple to know what is indigenous to America. I don't care if you're talking about the animals or the plants. It is very simple to tell what is indigenous and what's not. As a matter of fact, it's as simple as knowing what's in the forest. Knowing what plants are in that forest, what animals are in that forest, everything. If you know that, then you know what ain't belong. And then another way, and then a very simple way to tell what's not indigenous. What's not indigenous, you're not gonna find in those in the forest. What's indigenous, you're gonna find in the cities. You're gonna find around people in this new landscape that we have here in America. That's what you're gonna find. Then you're gonna find a lot of the animals and plants brought here come from somewhere else. The Europeans brought them over, and some of them are hybrid. They're not indigenous to anywhere, no place in the world. And it's very simple to tell what belongs and what don't. So let's talk about what don't belong, because it's probably easier that way. Okay, if we're talking about animals, what animals are not indigenous to America? Dogs, cats, pigs, not deer, sorry, goats, pigeons, sheep, I mean, these are some of the animals. Oh, and here's the one. This is the one that people probably gonna argue me with, but I'm gonna explain it to you. Horses. And I had a lot of people argue me that horses are indigenous to America, and they're not. And all it takes is doing a simple Google search on horse, and it will tell you that no wild horse in America, it'll tell you all wild horses in America are descended from domestic horses. Domestic horses are hybrids. Now, if you think horses are indigenous to America, then you should be able to go in that forest and round me up about 20 or 30 of them. Now, another thing, see, me myself, I hope people would think, that I try to think through nature, and that's how I try to think, is through nature. And I look at more than that. I take the animal and look at how it's built and everything. And I look at a horse and I say, well, a horse is built for speed. He's built for speed. How's he gonna run with that count? That, as a matter of fact, that's his mechanism for getting away from predators. So I'm asking myself, how's that horse gonna be able to run those kind of speeds through all them trees? They ain't gonna be able to do it. Their legs not built for that. Look at the deer. Their legs are built for that. They can get through no problem. And they're not faster than horses, but they can get through that forest faster. Even moose, and moose are the biggest. Of all the indigenous deer in the deer family. They get bigger than horses, and they can get through it quicker. If you look at these equestrian events on TV, and look at how these horses maneuver. A deer don't maneuver like that. A deer goes straight through it. They have to go around and all that time. Look at those rodeo events where the females had that event where they run around the barrel. Look how they maneuver around those barrels. Imagine them trying to maneuver like that through the forest with where it's a tree and the next tree might be 2 feet away and the next tree after that one might be 1.5 feet away. And you got a whole big acres, thousands of acres of this. And this is what America was before invaders. This just like Buck just told y'all about the Midwest. The Midwest was a forest. You ain't gonna find rats in the forest. You find rats in the cities. You don't find roaches in the forest, not them little tiny roaches that could be in everybody's house. You don't find them in the forest. You ain't find no pigeons in the forest. You can go, as a matter of fact, right here in Charlotte, you can go downtown Charlotte to the transit center and find hundreds of pigeons right there in the transit center. He couldn't survive in the forest. Now, like I said, you got animals like dogs and cats that actually have learned how to survive in the forest, but they're not indigenous. Our dogs are called wolves, coyotes, and foxes. Our cats are called pumas, mountain lions, panthers, jaguars. Those are the name of our cats. Dogs and cats are hybrid too. Cows are hybrid. You ain't gonna find no cow in the forest. You ain't gonna find no goat in the forest. Our goats are called rams. And you find them up in the mountains, up in high elevations, and they get through it pretty good. Ain't no goat gonna get through there like that. These things, and it's easy to tell. Plants that ain't indigenous. Most of these flowers that people grow in their yard, you don't find them in the forest. You don't find them in the forest. They come. A lot of those flowers and stuff come from Europe. Grass is not indigenous to America. Go in the forest and find me somebody with bluegrass or all these types of grasses here that people got in their yard. Go in the forest and find some of that. You not. And these things are easy to tell. These bushes that people got around their houses, these little 5 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot bushes or whatever, people have them in their houses. You don't find them in the forest. You will not find them in the forest. So it's very simple. All you got to do is just think what's in the forest and what ain't. Like I said, rats, you don't find rats in the forest, but you find mice. I see mice all the time in the forest, but not no rat. And this is very simple. All you gotta do is just think about it. And if you don't, and like teacher said, if you don't have these experiences, you'll never know. But it's very simple. Anything you want to add to that indigenous one?
No, man, I'm just sitting up here enjoying what you're saying, man, because I mean these are things that, you know, one of the ways I noticed that we're not taught to think about anything. So if somebody comes say this is that, we'll just copy this and that. We won't think about it. We won't think about where that came from. We don't think about how that affects our lives. We just accept it. And it creates nothing. I mean, I think we had enough time. We've had like 200 years to understand that this stuff doesn't work, and we never come up with anything that's beneficial for us.
Can I ask a question, Indigenous?
Yes, sir.
Where do we people of color get off putting on sunscreen? Where does that come from? Brother Moon, can you explain it to me, brother?
I wish I could, man. I don't understand either when the sun gives them nutrients. That's where a lot of your vitamin D comes from, the sun. So why are you trying to block it?
Well, I've been confused for a long time. I thought I would bring that out there because I think that's something else that's not indigenous to this land. You know, excuse me, but I apologize for it. I thought I would put that out there. Thank you, brother.
No,
Ah, you're right.
no.
You
Check out what this cat says. We put the listen. One of the things that everybody loves of what the indigenous people of America does, the world over loves it, is the music. And before this current or these last 2 or 3 generations, the music was off the hook. I mean, I don't even have to name the band: Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, Ohio Players, Parliament Funkadelic. I'd be up here 2 days getting down to the one-hit wonders of the impact music has made, the American indigenous people's music has made on the world. And George Clinton said something one time. He said, let the vibes flow through. Funk not only moves, it can remove. And he was telling you about the vibration that we put off. We put off a sound, we put off a vibration. If you ever sitting down and somebody walk past you, you know what I mean, if you pay attention to that type stuff. We put out a vibration that is off the hook. We have to know that, especially you on the land of America. Everybody, you go to any of these countries, the first thing that they think about is coming to your land. They spend their whole life dreaming of that. They have America on their walls, coming to get to your land. And we walk around here like we don't give a damn. And nigga, you don't tell me what to do because I'm grown. We got that type of attitude. We gonna suffer for that. We gonna suffer for that. Okay, Rick.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like I was saying earlier, it's very easy to tell what's indigenous and what not. And another thing, these so-called plants that we call weeds, most of them are some of the most nutritious plants you ever ate in your life. Dandelion, we think they weeds. Dandelion is great for all kinds of stuff. That's another show, getting into what all these so-called weeds would do for you. But that's just an example of stuff that people just run over, just tramp over. You should be collecting them.
Hey man, I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Since you were saying weeds, what about the marijuana plant? And this is why I asked this. And teacher, I would love your impact on this, your ideology on this too, because this whole marijuana thing. I'm seeing that the opposition is coming from the Negroes. Here you have a plant. Now we're talking Bob Marley, what they were saying the plant was for. What they were saying the plant does. Indigenous people who have used this plant forever, what they said the plant was for. We let somebody come tell us some old bullshit about the plant, and we're still carrying those ideologies today. It's a plant. If everybody gets a chance, if anybody gets a chance, go look up something called hempcrete, where they use the marijuana plant to make concrete. It's gonna blow you the fuck away because it's just as strong as concrete, but it's like 70 pounds lighter. Could you imagine what we could do with that? Could you imagine what kind of industry we could create off of that? But somebody tells you you can't have it. But you still go fight his wars, you do what he tell you to do, blah, blah, blah. This is what's happening to us. This is what the African American is being made to be. So what I want to ask you, brothers, what do you think about the whole marijuana thing? You know, I know people use to smoke, and that's cool. But what about there's other way cloth? We're not into the cotton anymore. We should be growing cotton balls. We should have it where one cotton ball equal one t-shirt. That's how sophisticated we should be in our shit. But we don't want to do it. Boss won't let us. No, my head hurt. You can't do that. And this is from the people who have means. I know brothers who are leaving the country to get their patent because they can't get simple stuff that would help us. That's brilliant ideas. We're going to have to change the way we think. So I want to ask you, brothers, what do you think about the whole marijuana thing that's going on today? Teacher, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Brother Rick, you were speaking.
Nah, he said you. You can go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I can only tell you my story. Since the 80s, I've been an advocate for marijuana. Matter of fact, I lost a job because of marijuana. And all those people that were going through depression, as I was, and I'm here to admit it today, that were going through these problems, they were supposed to have programs in place to help people in high stressful jobs to cope with family problems, with marital problems, with addictions or depression. But instead, just like everything else, they stole all of the money and they didn't have a dime to help anybody. So we had to fend for ourselves. So I was the one who initiated the marijuana kick. I told him, I said, look, marijuana has helped me and it has helped a lot of other people that are suffering just like me. But under the current rules that they had in place back then, you couldn't work a job and they still have it and use marijuana. So therefore, I could not stay. But I've always been an advocate for this plant because I can take the seeds right now and just walk through the city and just throw them out in various locations. I don't have to do anything. They'll grow themselves. So who is who are they to tell me or anybody else that I must stop nature, something that occurs naturally in nature, something that is indigenous to this particular land? Who are they? So I've been a warrior for marijuana. It's part of my religious right. It's part of who I am.
Well, what I think is I agree with what both of y'all was saying. Uh, but my thing on it is not only do they have those type of uses, most of the back like in the days, the ropes that they used for those ships were made from hemp on those ships, and they're a whole lot stronger than the ropes that they have now. These whatever they use, and also another thing, hemp oil. Man, hemp oil has so many beneficial uses to the body. It ain't even funny. I mean, it's good. It is. Hey, all you people who care about your hair and stuff like hemp oil is perfect for it, for your hair. it also will make your hair grow too. So there's a lot of uses for hemp. And but my suggestion is if they're gonna legalize marijuana, I'm gonna suggest that you grow your own, because I don't trust them. I think if they legalize marijuana, they're gonna put something in it harmful. And you can't name not one person in this world that has ever died from smoking marijuana. Not one.
Well, Indigenous Time Seeker says, and I thank you for joining us as always. Indigenous Time Seeker tells us that they're poisoning the marijuana, and I have to agree. I have to agree with her. And what you said, you have to grow your own. They're coming up with all different kind of brands and stuff, names and stuff. Jolly Ranch. I mean, you don't know what this shit is. So grow your own, or know somebody that you know that grows it. I mean, damn. See, these are the kind of things we just we can't let slide, because this is one thing. This is one of the tricks they know that we don't know. They know that we are the majority of people here. Why? You tell me, and somebody in the chat right now, I'll send you a book. African Americans Ain't Africans. Right now, if you can tell me, where in the world do you go and the indigenous people are the smallest population?
You know, I was sitting up here thinking about what you just said. It's the smallest population. It's very simple. When you learn how to castrate a plant, and I mean what I'm saying. When you are able to extract and take away the nuts or the seed of the plant, then you have just castrated that plant. How many of you men out there want to be castrated right now? I don't think I would have any takers. But for some strange reason, we have allowed them to castrate our fruits, castrate our vegetables, castrate our marijuana. So now it does not have any seeds, just like all the grapes and the other things. So we have to
Right.
be very careful with what we are consuming. That's why it has become poison. Anything that does not have a seed or cannot reproduce itself, stay away from it. Now, that's going to cut out a lot of food for a lot of individuals. So therefore, I'm helping you to diet. I'm helping a lot of people to diet right now. See, so you're going to lose a few pounds just by staying away from the stuff that don't have seeds in.
Here's another question. Look, and let's get into some of the listeners, because we've been on for about an hour now, and the listeners have been with us and they've been asking questions. And everybody in the chat seems to be like, how you gonna do this shit without no seeds? But Tyrone Kennard, and this is where I left off. Tyrone Kennard asked, how can we only be 13% of the population?
When somebody else says that you are,
Or you sit back and let them castrate you through medications and food and all kinds of garbage. That's how.
Right. So
I try to be funny to the dude though, but that's what we do. I mean, we let them. As a matter of fact, there was a post that somebody put in a group this past week that was saying that so-called African Americans are the biggest consumers in the world. Now they took it and they had it in different categories as far as how they judged it, and so-called African Americans were first or second in every last one of them. Now, if you a number 13% of the population, how and the state that we in, I mean, take myself for instance. I don't have a lot of money. I'm not rich or nothing like that. And most people, most of our people are probably in the same predicament I'm in and worse. But we're the biggest consumers in the world. If we were a minority, how is that? How is that? I mean, why is everybody else coming over here and making a fortune off us? Why come in our neighborhoods, everybody owns stores in our neighborhoods except us? I mean, there are a few of us that do, but but most of the stores that you find in most of our communities are owned by somebody else. Why is that? But that was a great question though, brother.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's things going on around us that we act like we're not a part of, and we see in this place as being filled with foreigners. And we really have to stop the coon shit, because this is really further along than many of us believe. You have whole cities that have Ethiopians, Arab people, blah, 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 Asians that control whole cities around here. And we don't control anything. I think we better pay attention to that, instead of always trying to be some foreign person or some idea that somebody wrote down or some definition that somebody made up. We try to be a part of that. We're dying to be a part of that, instead of just being yourself, which is what everybody else wants to be. Okay, Rick, you can go ahead, man.
Oh yeah. Okay. Dang, where was I at? Okay. Well, I forgot. I lost myself. We got into a good little conversation there. But I'll just go on. I wanted to talk about your responsibility as an indigenous person to America, and part of your responsibility as far and I'm gonna start with the males, because I think me myself being a male, I can speak on that, and I shouldn't get too many arguments from people. But the male's responsibility, his first responsibility is protection, is security to the family. That is his first responsibility, and that's the first responsibility of males in nature. Just about all male, because not all, because a lot of animals, the male don't have anything to do with it. But after it impregnates the female, but in animals that the male is involved in the rearing of the babies, the children, or whatever you want to call them, the male is always the protector. He is usually the protector, and the second big responsibility for males is to build. That's another responsibility of males. We're supposed to be building, man. We ain't supposed to be letting nobody else build our stuff. I should have known. I should have known when I was 18 years old how to build my own house. I should have known at 18 years old. Years and years later, I still don't know. I think I can. I think I can build a house, but I couldn't build it. I couldn't build it as fast as if I as I should have been able to build it. This is stuff we should have learned when we were young males, when the mothers turned us over to the fathers in our development,
Do you
and we
think?
don't really know how to do, huh?
No, no. I'm saying so. So like people are African Americans now. In 1980, there were no African Americans. In 1970, there were no African Americans. In 1960, there were no African Americans. So do you think from going to African American, I mean, to black, to Negro, do you think those different steps, they took out certain things from the indigenous people? So like if you say you went from Negro to black, they may have taken the fatherhood thing out of the community. Then from black to African American, they may have taken the jobs or a way to maintain
Hmm.
yourself, stability.
Hmm.
Is that how it happens? One step at a time. How does that go down?
Yes, yeah, I think you're 100% correct in what you just said. Yeah, I think this comes through periods. If you notice, about every this is since the census started, which was 1790 was supposed to be in the first census. Uh, every 30, 35 years, our name changed, and that was done because the more your name changed, the more it connected you from what you were or what you are. So yeah, I agree. Yes, it took steps. I mean, I mean, um, look at what happened. I'll tell you a few of the steps. One step would be the civil rights movement. One step would be Jim Crow. One step would be in 1988 when we were changed into African Americans. Yes, I agree totally with what you said. Yeah, it took steps, and each step they took disconnected you from what you really are. Every time they change your name, and they gonna get that American off of that African too, eventually, because your name it's gonna keep on happening. So they
Yeah,
can make you a total immigrant.
yeah. One of the things, one of the tricks they're using is they're calling people like Jesse Owens African Americans. They're
Right.
calling people like Frederick Douglass African Americans. They're calling people like Martin Luther King African Americans, when these people themselves have never even heard of that term. This is how you're being wiped out. This is how you're being disregarded. Those people were more connected to, when you go back in history and you read what those people said about themselves and their people, they'll all tell you that they're indigenous to America. So now they're doing something. What is it when they do in history? They change history, rewrite history. What is that called? When they rewrite history? See, the people who are
I guess the error
huh?
would it be an error? ERA?
No. It's not important. But what's important is that we have to recognize, so we can pass down to our children, what's happening to them and what they have to face. And it kind of goes back to what you're saying about you should have been taught to build a house when you were 18. You should have known how to build a house. Would that be better? Now check this out. This is what I'm saying about this that I don't get. Would it be better if you learned how to build a house from scratch? Would it be better for you and the place, the community in which you live, would it be better for you and all those involved?
Oh, of course it would be. Of course it would be. I mean, because see, that's the thing. That's the thing. Uh, this, this, this. Your land wasn't your land. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say land. Your earth was not taken from you by one person. It took a collective to take it from you. And in order for you to get it back, you got to be a collective. But they taught us how to be individuals. They taught us how to just think for ourselves. You know, if they not, well, you ain't in my family, you ain't in my family. I don't care nothing about you. You know, but that ain't how they took it from you. They even got with people who they didn't even like, and got them and got them in on the idea of getting rid of you. I mean, and speaking of our name changes and stuff, a lot of us are convinced that Negro is something derogative. But guess what? Negro is what connects you. It's the last thing that connects you to those treaties. Because a little history, a little real history lesson, not that crap they taught y'all in school. In 1705, in the year 1705, the only American Indians were indigenous males. Indigenous females were called Negro.
Could you explain why?
What was that?
Could you explain why the indigenous woman wasn't called the same thing as her children were?
Well, the reason why the males were called American Indian and the females were called Negro is simply that before we took on those names, we was kicking their butts. We were better than them. We were stronger than them, bigger than them, better than them. We was kicking their butts and all that stuff, y'all, that they taught y'all in school about how they dominated us and all that stuff is a lie. We was kicking their butt. They got us in the mind. That's where they defeated us. They outthought us. They didn't beat us physically. We smoked them. They had no chance. They had nothing that could stop us. I mean, y'all look at those old movies back in the 1800s where they showing all these white boys doing these war movies, these white boys with these one-shot guns that they shoot one time and then it took them 3 minutes to doggone reload and shoot again. Tell me, from the time that dude could load his gun and shoot one shot at me, how many arrows I could have got off towards him? But see, we let other people tell us who we are. But what I mean about 1705 was because they could not defeat the males, so they had to compromise with the males because they weren't stronger than the males. They got the males to turn against the females. That's how they got us. They didn't go to the female and do the female. No, they did not do that. They got to the female through the male. Example: when these devils or aliens, what I like to call them, came to this land, who did they meet? Did they meet the females or did they meet the males? They met the males because the males are the protectors. That's who they ran into. And in order for him to get to your female, he has to go through you. And that's exactly what happened. So in 1705, the males were called American Indian, and the females were called Negro. The males didn't become Negro until 1868 during the Public Land Trust. That's when we gave up over 770 million acres of earth to the United States. 1868. That's when the males became Negro. And then, like I said, it seemed like every 30, 35 years, our name changed.
Oh, okay. So you were
See,
talking.
they don't teach you this. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. You were talking about the responsibilities as the indigenous people. I just wanted you to continue on that thought.
Right. Of course, another responsibility of the male is to assist the female, to assist her. That's one of your responsibilities. It's because her one of her first responsibility is going to be to the children. Because when the children are born, the mother is the first teacher. So that's going to be her responsibility. And your responsibility is assist her in any way you can.
Let me ask you a question. It seems that we don't follow. I mean, that's a simple request. How come? What makes it where the male? I'm not. Of course, I'm not saying all males. So don't go off on that. But what is it where these males? I mean, are seriously bashing? I mean, it been going on in the music. They not all exempt. But how these males, they just dog out. I mean, dude, you don't see the position that you're under. See, that's what I don't get. You're in a position and you got the nerve to spew off on another person. How do we correct that, Rick?
Oh, Dan, you came in kind of broken, so I didn't catch everything that you said.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
This male hating.
Yeah, go ahead.
This male hating thing that's going on, and don't get me wrong, it's some female hating going on and some male hating going on. I mean, we both need to stop it because it looks dumb. But this male hating, where these brothers be dogging these sisters out, knowing what we're under, knowing that what we're faced against, and these cats are just going off. What does that mean? What is that saying? I mean, looking at it from a cultural standpoint, you have your women under attack, you have your males under attack from outside sources, but they're both attacking each other. What does that say?
Well, that says that we no longer are collective. I mean, that's simple as that. I mean, we like I said, when there's no way, the only way that they could get to the females is through the males, because it's their responsibility to ensure that nobody get to the females. It's up to the males to accept that responsibility, and we don't do a good job at that. We'll start putting everything on some female. And I'm talking about males today. I mean, it mind boggles me how many posts I see with some dude bashing females,
Right.
or some female bashing males. But then at the same time, we got to get together.
Yeah, and let me just make
You
this
know,
point. Let me make this point because that's funny. You should do that. I want the listeners to be aware of people like Tommy Sotomayor. I mean, dude, really? And this is what I
you
mean.
broken, Buck. You broken.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
You broken.
Yeah, go ahead.
It,
Nah, you ain't coming in that good, man.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, you can go ahead. You all right now.
No, I'm just saying, pay attention to all these things where
there,
these
Oh,
dudes are male or hating on the females, and the females are hating on the males, and everybody's hating on each other. Get Turn that off. However that is on your TV
right.
screen, your radio, whatever. Get that out of your head because that's the main thing they need to do. If you're fighting amongst each other, they have no need. That makes their work load less hard. It makes it easier
can
for
I give
them.
a can I say something that's probably would be a good point, a good story to tie in what y'all are saying?
Yes, sir.
All right, back in way back, I ain't gonna put no dates on it, but they used our culture against us because the women care the land that we secured while we were out conquering. The Europeans came over and they married our women that we considered undesirable. We sold them for tobacco and wine and rum, and we thought, oh, she's not of any use to us. Let's sell her to the Europeans. What the Europeans did, they took those same women that we rejected, took them back to Europe, dressed them up in their native attire, and married them. Under those marital rights, that meant that they had entitlement under European law to land because they had married a native female. So they came back with these we didn't want that we sold and laughed at. They came back with them and had made them into royalty, which gave them entitlement to the land under European law. Come on up to present time. You can go on any job. Guess who they got hanging around the job, been around the job for as long as ever, and they never get fired. All of the women that we don't want, we rejected. We would say that's a hood bunny, that's a dumb nut, that's a hood rat. They have these on these jobs and they are paying them well. Why? Because they use these same women against us in many ways. They're using the very thing that we reject against us. And that's the age old game that is still being played. You'll get fired before that old numbnut will. And you can be an expert in what you do. They will fire you first before they fire her because they are still using our weaknesses against us. The things we think are weak when all of us are strong. None of us should be rejected, even down to the one we claim that should be on Ritalin. That's one of ours. We can deal with it. But see, they said they're no good. Get rid of them. As soon as we get rid of them, they pick them up. I wonder why we're behind. The very thing we don't want, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Also to add on to that, a lot of the European females were marrying the indigenous males, and because the indigenous males were connected to their mothers, then that gave them rights to our earth too. So that also played a role in how we
True,
lost a lot of our earth.
true.
Yeah.
So you were talking about the responsibilities as indigenous people. You were talking about the males.
Right, right, and this the fourth responsibility, because I said I said security, protection. I said building. I said to assist the female when needed. And the fourth responsibility is to all nature, to all indigenous life. That's your responsibility. And if you don't take care of it, that's going to be your karma. That you're gonna no, they're not gonna punish somebody else for you not doing your responsibility. They're not gonna punish the European for what you did because you should have never went to his patriarchal ideologies. They're not gonna punish them for that. They're gonna punish you for that. So we as males, we have to take on those responsibilities. And if we don't, we lose. I mean, if we don't have, I mean, they're stronger than their males are stronger than our females. They looking to you as children, they're looking to you to protect them. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a female that can do good without them. But
Rick,
as far as the responsibility to the indigenous, that's your responsibility. And if we don't follow those rules, we're gonna pay karma for that.
So how do we avoid the karma trap, Rick?
Basically, to avoid the karma is just follow those responsibilities. Start protecting your females and your children. Do what you're supposed to be doing. Start building. Hey, I'm telling you, if you can build your own house, you can get just about any female because that's what she expects from the male. So this is not nothing that just she knows that's your responsibility also. So if you're not doing it, that's why she's gonna say something to you. And and like I said, we assist, and which is her responsibility too. She assists the male. That's one of her responsibilities, to assist the male when she can. So and like I said, lastly, your responsibility to nature. You're responsible to take care of all indigenous life, not just the indigenous people, because everything connects. Everything connects. So when these trees go away, guess who's going away with them? That's us, and that's all the other indigenous creatures in America. That's what happened. That's what happened in Egypt. The Egyptians are dead. There's no true Egyptian over there anymore. Those are Arabs. And I saw a posting there the other day where some Arab Egyptian was talking about was getting on African Americans from stealing their culture. I mean, we got these. It's hard, and I know it sounds hard, but I'm sorry. If we don't return back to nature, we will never be able to fight off what we into. We'll never be able to fight this off. And that's just plain and simple. So you just being happy that you indigenous and stuff, that's not gonna get you freedom. Take steps. That's why we doing this. Hey, everybody, we got a lot of people that's talking about genealogy and stuff like that. We got a lot of people talking about that stuff. So everybody don't need to be talking about that. you know. So my responsibility, because I'm not a genealogist, I'm not into genealogy like that, so I don't even try. But so I feel my responsibility is to help in some other way, and that's why I do this.
So, and yes, and brother, we really appreciate it because it's not too many brothers, just giving facts like you giving. They not scholarly and all that other bullshit. They just simple facts. And I hope the listeners can appreciate it. You were talking about the responsibilities as the indigenous people. You were saying,
Oh well, I mean that's basically the responsibility of the male, and then you got the female responsibility. I don't like to get into female responsibilities, because I'm not female. But there's stuff, like because like I said, the females are the first teachers, so one of their responsibility is toward the children. And this is what I used to. This is what I've always said. The day that my mother birthed me, she taught me how to be a member of the Moon family. But once she turned me over to my father taught me how to be a male member of the Moon family. So like I said, females are the first teachers. So that's one of their responsibilities. So and like I said, I can talk about the other ones, you know, but like I said, I'd rather for a female to do that, instead of me.
that makes perfectly good sense. Cool. Well, listen, we have Teacher Teo Khan back. Glad you was able to join us again, brother. So, we're going to end it here because we've been going, we don't, it's Sunday and we know you got things to do. So we're going to end it here, but your responsibilities
Church.
as indigenous, I'm sorry, Rick, go ahead.
No, I was joking, man. I just said church.
No, no, because, we want to share information. We're tired of seeing our people get dogged out. But I'm a little bit more pissed off because it seems like the more we get dogged out, the more we love it, and stupider and how stupid
True,
we get as a group of
true.
people. And for real, y'all, really, this is how we going out now. Many of you, that's what you cool with. Knock yourself out. You want to go to Africa and do that. You want to be a Hebrew, do that. But see, one thing you got to remember when you listening to a foreign person away from their land talking that shit, you know they full of shit. And this is something indigenous people here got to understand. We always listening to foreigners telling us some dumb shit that they wouldn't do. Marcus Garvey is a good example. How come Marcus Garvey didn't talk that shit in Jamaica? Because the Jamaicans knew that they were the indigenous people over there. It wouldn't fly. But he come over here to you, and I don't know during that time if you were going through one of your Black to African Americans transformations. I don't know if it was in the middle of that back then, but he came over here and told you a story that made no sense, something that he had the chance to do but didn't, but got all of you hooked and going that way to turn over your ancestral identity so you can go get a fake one. And all those people that you walked away from, their lands are being invaded by foreigners. That's on you. So those are your responsibilities. Stop being stupid. And I mean stupid because you can't explain what you believe. Negroes can't explain Christianity. When you ask them stuff about Christians, they don't know because they don't read it. And when you ask them, well, what are the spiritual foundations or the spiritual practices that the indigenous people of America put forth? They have no idea. They don't know. They haven't even thought of it. So this is how you know somebody's talking that bullshit to you. If they trying to sound all scholarly, come on, y'all. You know your children are watching. And see what's going down here in the South now is these churches are emptying out because the youth are picking up what the church has been doing all these years. And you guys been hearing it. What's happening to the black church? People are walking away from it because they realize it's bullshit. It's just that simple. You know, we people understand that. Why am I worshiping a person that's persecuting me on earth? People are getting that. It don't not everybody gets it. That's cool, but a lot of people are like, "Are you serious?" You have more and more indigenous people training their children at home, doing homeschooling. Why? Because the school system is shit. I mean, damn, it's horrible. And we send our kids to that and then say we love our children. Stop bullshit. Nobody in their right mind would send their kids to school knowing that they've been and it didn't teach them nothing. You get the shittiest education, and you know people around the corner who live 3 or 4 miles from you getting a decent education to prepare them for the future, and you're getting prepared for a future to send you to jail. Are you serious? We cool with it. We have no problem with it. So what? That's where we are. Ask yourself, why is Thurgood Marshall's son the CEO of the prisons if Thurgood Marshall was the one who came to desegregation? These people aren't playing with you. These people aren't playing. So, with that, take the information. I mean, you don't have to believe it, don't believe it, you don't have to like it. I know how we do. But what this brother's talking about your environment, about you being indigenous to America, I know everything he said, I know you was like, damn, you're right. Because he is. Nobody knows this land like you. But you keep trying to pretend like you're something that you're not, you're going to find yourself like the ancient Egyptians. Remember, Egypt used to look like New Orleans. Same delta, same river running down it. They got the Nile, you got the Mississippi. They had plants in Egypt. If you look at Egypt art, they plants were the size of them and would talk to them. Look at the Egyptians. Those people weren't no joke. Somebody saw what they had and wanted and came down there, and the Greek soldiers and the Roman soldiers went down there, got with the Greek and Roman females and males, and turned the whole country into Semites. Half. They're half Egyptians, half Roman and Greek. That's what you have in Egypt now. The same thing is happening here. Mexicans used to be called Mexicans. All it is indigenous people mixed with the Spanish and everybody else. So you're being plotted out like they did, and you don't even. History shows you this, and we ignore it. Okay? You've been warned. You can't say you didn't. I didn't know. Nobody told me, huh? You can't do all that shit. The people who were created to be on this land, your responsibility is to act like an indigenous person everywhere you go, because you are being wiped out. If you think I'm lying, Georgia Guidestones, Georgia Guidestones, Georgia Guidestones. Go read them and ask yourself, why isn't your language included amongst the people who wrote it? Ask yourself, why aren't you included? And you'll start getting your answer. We're living in a time frame, and everybody tells you where it ain't no joke. We can't be cooning. So I want to thank Teacher, for joining us. I want to thank Rick Moon for giving us that nice, so we can identify with nature and what's going on, because winter's going to be over in a minute and spring is going to be popping up. And like Teacher Tiwa Khan said, we're about to have a New Year festival for 2020 on the Mississippi River in Memphis. So we'll be putting out information about that real soon. So you have to familiarize yourself with nature. Have to.
Hey, can I say something before we go, Buck?
Yes, sir.
uh, I just wanted to say, before we leave, that that in order for us to be able to get through what we're going through, we're gonna have to connect back to nature. No matter how you see it, how you put it, there's no way around it. That's the only way you're gonna be able to gain back what is rightfully yours. And even after then, we have to be able to maintain it. So also, before I leave, I just want to say that to everybody to please go to fear.org. There are plenty of products that come from the earth that we sell that's for our people and nobody else. So please go to fear.org and check out the products there. Also, check out Ambassador Redine's book. Also check out Carrie Davis' book. So let's try to support these people and also support Brother Teacher there. I don't want to tell everybody what Brother Teacher has over there, but I know he has things that he does too. And if he don't mind, telling everybody, a few of those things.
He's got off now, but I'm gonna have him back on before we do the New Year's summit, because this brother, you talk about, this brother does so many things. And this is what I'm saying. This is what all brothers should be doing. What this cat is doing, amazing. And I'm gonna let him talk about that. So we're gonna go ahead and close it out now. We want to just thank everybody for joining us. Hold on, here he is right now. Yo, Teacher, we wanted to know if you could share with the listeners some of the things that you do over there.
Wow. What don't I do?
Right.
The thing is, I mean, it's nothing that I don't do, because you have to fill in the gaps that are there amongst your people. So therefore, I had to learn some of everything. So what area? Any area that you can come up with, the creator and ancestors have given me certain knowledge in that. I thank them for it. But yes, we do it all. Everything we're involved in something in Memphis. We're encouraging people to come and see.
Oh, okay. So just share with the audience this. Check this out, you guys. Share with the audience about the coin making idea. And this brother has so many ideas, it's humanly impossible for him to do it because we don't have the support. See, if we have the support that we give McDonald's, we be doing some bad shit. We don't have it like that. If we have the support that the church has, dude, we don't have that. See, we always support shit that's not in our best interest. We always eating out of somebody else's mouth. Could you share with them your idea for doing our coins?
Okay, well, this idea was given to them in coming to America. And the first person we saw face on money was Eddie Murphy. Was that
Yes.
Eddie Murphy coming to America?
Yes.
And he was on he had his own money. They have been trying to give us little bits and pieces along the way, but we have been lost because we have been caught up in all these cell phones and all these Xboxes and all this hocus pocus that's brainwashing us. Now, resources are here. The same copper that you see Lincoln's head on, the same silver that you see what his name? You know who I'm talking about on the dime. Your faces can be on this same money. All you have to do is extract the resources, which are already around you. They're everywhere on the streets, everywhere, and you take those resources and you extract the raw resources and you put your tribal faces on the money. And they don't understand it. This is part of our resources. This is part of our sustainability, because metal is metal in any country. If you take gold, whether it's shaped like a Buddha or whether it's shaped like a tennis shoe, gold is gold. They're going to weigh it and they're going to say, this is how much it's worth. Okay, let's. Certain currencies are not going to hold, they're going to be done away with. But metal is forever. It's forever. So take these resources and start working on your sustainability, where you can put your faces on a penny, your face on a dime, and we trade it amongst each other. And it's simple because it's right out there. All you got to do, this is what we're going to be showing people when you come to Memphis. This is what we're going to be telling you, how to be self-sustainable, how to build your own currency. Now, I may get dogged out. You may not. I hope I still be around by then. But this is what we're going to be teaching the people.
So we're gonna have teacher back on a few more times before the actual day hits, so he can keep us abreast of what's going on. So we're gonna end it right now. So listen, I really appreciate you guys spending your afternoon with us, and sharing with us. We took some of the ideas from the chat and expounded on them, and really appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week. We're gonna come with another program for next week because there's a lot of stuff going on that we have to be aware of. And see, once we're aware of a whole bunch of things and we know it, things can work in our favor. But we have to know they're going on and our purpose for being. So we're going to see you guys next week. We want to thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.